Joining us right now, Bobby Blanco. And Bobby, how you doing, man? What's
Hey,
going
Bobby.
on?
Hey guys, how are you guys? Hope you guys enjoyed your Father's Day.
We did,
yeah.
man. When you're getting wins from the Nats, where
Absolutely.
we thought we were rebuilding, but we sitting out winning the last eight out of the last 9. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean they're playing good ball right now. I mean, you had the Marlins come in, and the Nats have really struggled against that team over the past couple of years, posting a pretty dreadful record against them, and then to now start undefeated against them, sweeping 4 in Miami back in April, now sweeping 3 here at home. I mean, this is what the Nationals have to do if they want to take that next step to being competitive, right? They have to beat the teams that they are better than on paper. Not many of them, but there are teams that they are just better than, the Marlins being one of them, and you have to beat those teams to kind of take that next step back to being competitive and trying to compete for, division titles and get back into the postseason. So seeing them play well all the way around on the mound, at the plate, getting collective hits, hitting for some power even, was a very good sight to see over this weekend. Now you got the Diamondbacks coming in the next couple of days. Obviously a team that played in the World Series last year. They're not playing as well as that right now, but still a tough opponent to see how they match up against the Diamondbacks.
How important has it been for Davey to stress the fact that his team is highly aggressive on the base paths? They scare the dickens out of people and they go for it. And I think that alters the personality of a baseball team.
Yeah, very important. Davey's always kind of mentioned that he envisioned this as his team's MO at the end of last year, even kind of being like, hey, we're not going to hit a lot of home runs. That's fine. Let's get on base. Let's steal bases. These new rules obviously play to our advantage, play to the base runners' advantage. That's what the league wants. The league wants more excitement on the base paths. They want more stolen bases. And, the Nats were very good at that earlier in this year. I mean, I think they still lead the league in stolen bases. The thing is now is that teams are adjusting to them, right? Like teams are prepared for that. And how do the Nats kind of adjust back? It's all about adjustments. This game is all about adjustments. So how do you kind of, adjust to the team that's going to, maybe like try to hold you on the base path a little longer or has pitch, and catchers look at, they've got the speed, they got the talent to steal bases. They've got to be very selective in when they want to go. Davey's always said he wants them to be aggressive, but you also have to be smart about it too. You can't just, go on a whim and expect to steal every bag every single time. You have to be smart about situational stealing bases, getting guys into scoring positions because they have the speed, right? C.J. Abrams, Lane Thomas, Jacob Young, these guys that, if they get on base via a walk or a single, they can essentially turn that into a double with a stolen base. So, but you got to be smart about it. You can't just, go, with 2 outs, depending on the count to whoever's at the plate. So being aggressive has definitely been a focal point for them on the base path. Now it's also about being smart because other teams are taking notice and are going to try to hold that against them.
Well, they're having some timely pitching and great pitching on top of that. Hers yesterday, 13 strikeouts? So when you're seeing the pitching, did you expect the pitching to be that good?
You know what? I think we expected the pitching to be better than they were last year. I mean, especially guys like Mackenzie Gore and Jake Irvin, who, we know Mackenzie has all the stuff, all the talent in the world. Jake Irvin had a really strong rookie year last year. We expected those guys to have pretty solid years. I think when you look at like DJ Hurst, Mitchell Parker, these are the kind of guys that were similar to Jake Irvin's story last year. Like they weren't really supposed to be up this early, and here they are and doing really well. DJ Hurst, like you said, struck out. I think it was 13 on Saturday, and Mitchell Parker held his own yesterday. And that comes after a rough outing for Mitchell. So it was good to see him kind of bounce back, and be able to compete at a high level after a rough outing. That's sometimes tough for a rookie like Mitchell. But to have them both be homegrown guys, DJ Hurst being a guy they traded for last year, but still, a guy that you kind of handpick that you want to be a part of your future. Them playing at this or pitching at this kind of level is I think is a good sign overall for the organization. Obviously, it helps in the win column right now, but this team has always, under Mike Rizzo, has always emphasized starting pitching, and for a while they've been kind of swinging and missing at drafting and developing starting pitchers, now you're seeing guys like Irvin, Mitchell Parker, and guys that they have gone out and acquired, and Mackenzie Gore and DJ Hers kind of come into their own and perform really well. I think it's not too surprising that they're performing well. I think it was more surprising of who has come up and done it at this time right now in this stage of the season.
Josiah Gray, getting good news on him following his progress. Can you imagine if he comes back and gets back in the groove?
Yeah, and that's the guy too. Like we're talking about all of how well this rotation has been, and Josiah's not a part of that conversation because he's been hurt. And once he gets back into that rotation, we saw really good results from him on Friday night at Harrisburg in his second rehab start. He'll probably have another one or two coming up in the next couple of weeks, and then ideally, hopefully, everything all goes well. He'll have his arm built up and he'll be healthy enough to rejoin this rotation. And yeah, you're right, Doc. Like, if he joins this rotation and gets back to, he was their all-star last year. So if he gets back to that level of pitching, this is going to be one of the better young rotations in all of baseball right now, because you have Mackenzie Gore, who has, ace potential. You have Jake Irvin, who's probably overall their most consistent pitcher. You have surprising guys like Mitchell Parker and DJ Hers, giving them quality outings every single time out. And so you add Josiah Gray to that mix. I mean, that's an exciting 5-man rotation, all young guys too, all guys that you have either traded for, traded former all-stars, superstars for, or drafted and developed yourself. So that's a really good sign for, Mike Rizzo and company when Josiah gets back and he's healthy.
We know how the season started, and they talked about basically rebuilding things of that nature. If you had to give them a grade, what grade would you give them right now based off of how they've been playing?
Yeah, it's a tough question because, I would give them a solid, A minus. I think you have to keep in mind, like, going into the season, I don't think we were anticipating them, anyone really, I mean, and myself included, them being one game under 500 in mid-June. I think, we were kind of anticipating them. They had a really tough start to last year, and then they played 500 ball the rest of the way. So the question was, can they get off to a good start this year and keep that pace? I think I was doubtful. I think some other people were doubtful as well, but they proved us wrong, right? Now here they are basically playing 500 ball. So I would give them, if you're surpassing expectations like that, I think the bare minimum, you have to get at least an A minus. You can maybe be nitpicky and drop down to a B right now, but they're surpassing a lot of expectations, and I think they haven't even reached their full potential. I think that this team can be even above 500 club. I'm not saying make the postseason or anything, but they can be that because, we've seen them give away games by making some, costly errors or just having, one bad pitch from the bullpen guy. This team could easily be above 500 right now. So, you can maybe nitpick right there, but I'll give them a solid A minus just because as of right now in mid-June, they're surpassing the expectations that we had, back in February.
If they get all B's, they get a degree. So that's passing to me.
Yeah. Speaking of all B's, C.J. Abrams at the plate. Assess the adjustments that pitchers have made to him and he's made back to them. Little up and down. Seems like he's getting back in a groove. For a minute, he was on fire.
Yeah, 100%. He had a fantastic April, and I think everyone was kind of saying like, all right, this is going to be their all-star this year. He is playing at a high level of at shortstop too. So he was going to be like having one of their best years. He had a really tough May, came down to earth, crashing in a sense, and he struggled. I think he struggled at the plate. I think he struggled mentally too. I think every ball player goes through the ups and downs of a tough season. Baseball's hard. You're a good player if you fail, 3/4 of the time. I think that kind of hit him a little hard. I think Davey Martinez didn't want him to be too hard on himself. But at the same time, he is kind of becoming the face of this franchise. There are a lot of expectations for him. He started chasing balls out of the zone, which he wasn't doing at the start of the season or even at the end of last year. And I think he's kind of reestablished himself at the plate. He's been more pitch selective, waiting for his pitch. That's showing in both his home runs that he's hit and the extra bases that he's hit for, and also the walks that he's drawn over the past couple of weeks or so to start this month. So thank God he kind of turned that page from last month. He's getting back to what he was doing in April that made him so successful.
We're talking to Bobby Blanco here on the BMitch and Finlay show on the BetQL guest line. And when you look at this team, we talk a lot about Davey. I mean, we talk a lot about Rizzo. We talk a lot about the players, but Davey Martinez is the guy. What is he doing and how much credit he deserves for the way that they're playing?
Davey deserves a lot of credit. The whole coaching staff, honestly. Like, I know a lot of fans want to talk about how much Sean Doolittle has impacted this pitching staff, but I think a lot of credit also has to go to Jim Hickey, the pitching coach. Like, he has done a really good job of getting these guys lined up for each start, managing the bullpen well, using what they are good at, and having them attack hitters. And then, the hitting comes and goes. Everyone knows that. Sometimes you're hot, sometimes you're not. I think they're doing a good job of trying to keep these guys within the strike zone. Being patient at the plate. We talked earlier, obviously, about the stolen bases. So the offense is going to, come and go in waves. But, Davey Martinez is just the prototypical, player's coach. Everyone loves him. Everyone wants to play for him. He's so supportive of these guys. He defends them. He backs them in everything they do. And I think he's done a really good job of putting all these guys in the best situations to win. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. That's sports, right? That's fine. But he is putting them in good positions to win, and he's maintaining that really high level of positivity in the clubhouse that he's always had since he's got here. I mean, you talk about 2019, obviously that team that had a magical run, and everyone mentions, that wouldn't be possible without Davey Martinez and just how positive he was after they started 19-31. Through this rebuild, they've, lost the most games in the league a couple of times, but Davey Martinez, now don't get me wrong, he always wants to win, but he always kept a positive level head throughout all of that. So I think guys really respect and like playing for him. So, I think that's been a huge part, and it goes all the way to the top two. Mike Rizzo, that includes him as well. But they've created a really good culture in that clubhouse where even guys who are here in the short term like being a part of this team, like being, playing for Davey Martinez and these coaching staff. So shout out to the entire coaching staff and Davey Martinez for keeping a tight-knit group together.
How many other GMs in MLB could pull off a successful bobblehead promotion for the GM?
Yeah, I was laughing at that. They did a really good job promoting that bobblehead. The bit with Zimmerman and his office. Now, obviously, Brian Zimmerman works for the team in the front office, but Brian Zimmerman having all his bobbleheads. I think that kind of also just kind of shows that, this team isn't where they would like to be, where the fans want them to be just yet. I think a lot of people acknowledge that it's coming. But they can still, have fun. I mean, it's sports. Like, it's supposed to be fun. And I think Mike Rizzo, like I said, that kind of starts at the top with Mike Rizzo. No one wants to win more than him and Davey. Trust me on that. But, they understand the process they're going through right now. And, they can have fun with it here and there. So, it's a good group to be around for sure.
Well, Bobby, man, listen, I'm going to tell you this, bro. I like to hear them, start to do and play like they're playing, but you are there like all the time. Do you think they're ahead of schedule?
I do. I think they are because, like I mentioned, guys like Mitchell Parker, DJ Hurst, who they're guys that we anticipated coming up to the major league level at some point this year, but definitely I don't think anyone thought they would be up here this early. And, it just goes to show that this, when the Nationals started this rebuild, back in 2021, it was a whole organizational upheaval, right? Like they realized that they needed to start from the bottom and kind of rebuild this thing from the ground up because the farm system wasn't as strong. The player development staff, I mentioned their struggles developing starting pitchers earlier. It wasn't as strong as it had been in the past. And, I think I give them a lot of credit for, acknowledging that and understanding that, hey, this is what we have to do to get back to, 2019 level of competition. So I think that when you got guys like that who were probably supposed to be up at some point this year, but not exactly. I mean, and Jay Gervin was an example last year, but not this early and not having this high level of success. I think it's a good sign for the entire organization. We're going to see James Wood, if he gets back healthy at some point this year, We could possibly see Dylan Cruz. We're probably going to at least see him up at AAA. Maybe same with Robert Hassel III if he can get healthy again. Brady House. All these top prospects are having such good seasons. So I think when you got guys coming up at this level and performing at this level that weren't supposed to be here, quote unquote, I think it's a good sign so that they are ahead of schedule. What's the best case scenario for this team this year? I think finishing close to a 500 record. I'm not going to put like the pressure of, the expectation of making the playoffs on this team. I just don't think that's realistic. And you know what? And if they do, great. I mean, that's an added bonus. But I think, we saw them have a 16-win jump from 2022 to 2023 last year. So now kind of take that 70-win season and get closer to 81 or maybe slightly above. If they finish around 500 or even hopefully above it, I think that's a really good sign for this team. That's a realistic expectations for them. And, you look at the current standings in the National League, it's kind of wide open when it comes to the wild cards. And, they have 3 now. It's not just 2. So there's obviously more room for guys, for teams to slip in. And look at the Diamondbacks, the team that they're facing this week. That they snuck into the postseason last year with, I think, around a 500 record, and they made it all the way to the World Series. So, anything can happen if you just keep playing hard. I mean, it's baseball is such a grind. You play every day, you play so many games. But I think if this team stays around this kind of 500 level ball, we might be seeing them play some interesting games in September. With an outsider's chance of the postseason. Again, I'm not going to put that on them, that expectation on them. I don't think that's fair. But with the way the league is shaping out right now, I wouldn't surprise me if that were the case in a couple of months. Well, we hope it can end like that. It'll be great. They came in and they, we knew what they were doing, but they're playing a lot better. And I think a lot of enthusiasm starting to get behind this team. A young bunch that we're getting the pitching early, but it wasn't getting the timely bats. Now they're starting to get that as well. Mm-hmm. So if they keep growing, we got something to look forward to and cheer about, man. Appreciate you giving us some time. We love it. Yeah, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm glad you enjoyed your weekend, and hope you have a good week.